In our top stories, Barbados told adjusting work hours could help with traffic congestion. The Sanitation Service Authority holding talks with trade unions to improve garbage collection. The opposition wants debate on a bill delayed. And in sports, the Windies on the look for the right mix for tomorrow's second test against India at Sabina.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. In our top story tonight, a proposal that could help ease congestion on the country's dense road networks. Minister of Transport, Works and Maintenance, Dr. William Duguid, believes it is time the island introduces staggered work hours. He made the comment during the national consultation on traffic management held at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre last evening. Sharika Griffith has more.
In less than 2 weeks, school will resume for thousands of school children, and chances are gridlock traffic will once again be the norm during peak times. In an effort to ease the congestion, Dr. William Duguid says staggered work hours should be considered.
We must fully explore all avenues related to this measure, which can have a positive impact on the reduction of time spent waiting in traffic. Everyone present here and those within the sound of my voice are aware of the easier traffic flow when school is on holiday. Furthermore, as we build out our 24-hour society, the need for the majority of the workforce to be at their respective places of work from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 9 to 5 will be significantly reduced, and this in itself will have the potential to alleviate some of the traffic congestion challenges.
Minister Duguid made the call as stakeholders gathered for the national consultation on traffic management. Senior Technical Officer in the ministry's Road Engineering section, Jason Bowen, says a study done on roads in and around the city reveals significant congestion and delays. He explains why.
Mainly through a lot of heavy right turn movements, persons, what we call rat runners, they use shortcuts through the side roads and then try to beat traffic. That creates significant problems upstream, sorry. It creates more bottlenecks and is a significant problem. It contributes greatly to the problem that we face.
Mr. Bowen says on a scale of A to F, A being free-flowing conditions and F representing total gridlock, traffic flow on local roads scored D's and E's, which is on the poor side of the scale. Unless something changes, this is projected to get worse. He says bad parking practices also contribute to congestion in the city.
We see a lot of parking in restricted areas. There's double parking throughout Bridgetown. Persons actually park on street for significant periods of time. There's normally parking even in the loading zones. Where they are defined in the loading zones, people park.
Interestingly enough, Mr. Bowen says officials from the ministry discovered that on a daily basis, there are actually 1,000 free parking spaces available in car parks throughout Bridgetown. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
You will have delay.
Thanks, Sharika. The Sanitation Service Authority is currently negotiating with the workers' unions to settle some differences so that regular and timely garbage collection can be restored. This was one of the many topics discussed as Shane Jones sat down with the SSA's Public Relations Officer, Carl Alf Padmore.
Right now, garbage collection is under the microscope a lot. We've been seeing a lot of things on social media, especially with the passing of Tropical Storm Dorian. It's under the microscope. What can you tell us about the SSA and how have they picked up service?
We have an average of 22 trucks on the road, and what we did is, let's go prior to Dorian if I can. We did a massive cleanup in and around the Bridgetown districts and some parts of the country as well. But during that time, we would have collected over 22 truckloads of bulky waste, not even the household one, of bulky waste, so that they would not go into the drains and we would not have any blockage into the normal stream where the rain would fall. That to us was an eye-opener because Bridgetown cleans 6 days out of 7. So to go into Bridgetown and its environments and to have 23 loads was an eye-opener. In terms of the garbage collection, for the most part, we have it under control, but because we are not working overtime, we're not really working on weekends, bank holidays, we still have a hemorrhaging going on. The union is in negotiation with government to try to come to an amicable solution to get the garbage off the road, and we are hoping for the best, really and truly. We are still concerned that there are pockets of illegal dumping happening in and around Barbados. We have removed the tipping fee, so there's no excuse where persons can take the garbage to the landfill. We have removed that. We are providing a service for you, and people are still doing it.
I want to move back a bit because you explained that they was trying to have some negotiations with the union.
Yes.
Because we have been seeing a lot of stuff on social media. People are saying this is my garbage piling up, and you're saying you know, it's not what it should be. How soon can people feel at ease? Do you anticipate some sort of closure to this issue coming soon?
Yes, we hope that within the next couple of weeks it will be closed. But what we can give the public the assurance is that some of those vehicles that were in the workshop, we're getting them back out to join the fleet. So shortly you're going to see 1 or 2 additional vehicles that are in the workshop to come to join what we have. What we are doing is we are also rolling out an aggressive community program where we're encouraging Barbadians to really get into separation of garbage. We have our Facebook post that's up, and I mean daily we are getting hundreds of hits on it in terms of people not complaining, but they're making queries, and we are responding in quick time.
Tell me a bit about how that Facebook works, because I can only imagine people would hear this, and people that don't know already want to jump on and say, how can I comment and ask questions real time? Good.
So you have your phone, everyone has a phone, Shane, and you go into your Facebook app, which I'm doing now, and you are typing in your search button, Sanitation Service Authority. And there you go, Shane. Sanitation Service Authority. It's up, right? And with that up, then you can go in and you can make a comment. You can send a message to us and say, I live in Marchfield, St. Philip. The garbage has not been collected for 3 weeks. Is there a number? If you love your country, separate. If you love your country, don't litter. If you love your country, treat it like your home.
And that's the SSA's Public Relations Officer, Carl Alf Padmore there, speaking with our Shane Jones. Opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley wants government to delay tomorrow's planned debate on the establishment of a local medicinal cannabis industry. According to him, the bill is on the order paper, but he doesn't believe there has been enough consultation on the matter.
You can't bring this without having talked to the Pharmaceutical Society. You can't bring this without having talked to BAP. You can't bring this without having the Barbadian public, such as would be interested in contributing to the debate on this, to have the opportunity so to do. We have seen legislation brought to Parliament in recent times in Barbados with much haste attaching to it. We understood that when there were implications for how we relate to the OECD. There were implications for our commitments with the EU and stuff like that, and even the conditions which are imposed relative to the IMF arrangements under which we now live, so to speak. So we understood the haste attaching to some of those measures. We do not at all understand the haste attaching to this one.
The challenges which Barbados is facing with young people between the ages of 14 and 15 are not unique to this region. That's according to child advocate Faith Marshall-Harris, who made the point during a recent interview with the CBC News. Barbados is among the 193 countries which make up the international organization known as the United Nations. And even though thousands of miles may separate us from other member states, Mrs. Marshall-Harris says one common thread is the deviant behavior exhibited by young people of a certain age group.
The 14 to 15-year-old age group is the problem age group worldwide. We are having issues, and in my position as one of the 18 global members of the United Nations Committee on Rights of the Child, I do see what's happening around the world with all children and young persons, because our committee deals with children and young persons up to the age of 18. And we have a really intimate knowledge of what's happening in our 197 countries.
Mrs. Marshall Harris was speaking against the backdrop of the recently concluded Camp Inspire, which targeted students of the Grantley Adams Memorial School between the ages of 14 and 15. She says while her hope for greater parental involvement did not materialize, there were some positives.
By the end of the camp, I saw a group of youngsters who were a little more receptive, a little more focused, and better behaved. I think, and so if my reading was accurate, I think then you can say that we succeeded. The ultimate success will come, of course, is whether they carry any of the precepts through to the rest of the summer and through into the term.
Well, during the camp, participants engaged with over 60 facilitators and camp counselors who attempted to help them improve on their weak areas. Mrs. Marshall Harris says several facilitators, including a cosmetologist, a landscaper and a craftsman, have expressed a willingness to offer job attachment to interested students. Principal of the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, Professor Udine Barreto, is challenging incoming postgraduate students to carve research niches and ultimately find solutions to the Caribbean's problems. She made the call during the university's postgraduate orientation ceremony yesterday.
There is no graduate student, or for that matter, any faculty member at Cave Hill who should struggle to carve an area for research. Like the rest of the world, the Caribbean faces complex challenges in the areas of health, energy, environment, food security, and social justice, among many others. However, globally prescribed solutions are not always applicable, and they're not always applicable to the region's particular and unique realities. International research does not always provide the answers we seek. Here is where you enter. We need Caribbean responses to our challenges.
Well, preparations for back to school just got much easier for more than a dozen lucky shoppers. That's because they each received a $500 voucher for school uniforms thanks to A1 Supermarkets. Project coordinator Michael Brown says the back to school promotion ran from June to mid-August and customers were required to spend $50 for a chance to win. He says the competition, which involved a partnership with Yankee Garments, attracted thousands of entries.
One of the things we also did, because Yankee Garments did not provide uniforms for all the schools, we did not disadvantage anyone. If you were not being supplied by Yankee Garments, we allowed you to tell us which school you were at and where you would get the uniforms from. So other than Yankee Garments benefited from this thing, Yankee Garments had Cape Shepherd, Beds, Woolworth, the UFO, the outlet at Wildy. So, and I said, there are 14 winners, 7 at each location, 5 customers and 2 staff members.
And CBC spoke with some of the winners who received their prizes at the Carlton and A1 supermarkets.
I was overjoyed because I never win anything before, so I think it was great, and it came in very handy at this time. For my nephew, he goes to Alexandra, and my cousin, she goes to St. Michael's.
I am very happy to win because I am a retiree from teaching, and I wanted to continue to give my godchildren, 30 godchildren, something. So this is very handy and very helpful.
And news from the region, Hurricane Dorian could hit the northern Bahamas and Florida this weekend as an extremely dangerous Category 4 storm, bringing intense rains and sustained winds of 130 miles per hour.
It is expected that Dorian would intensify and also expand in terms of size.
Senior Deputy Director of the Bahamas Department of Meteorology, Jeffrey Simmons, says storm trackers show Dorian passing to the east of the Bahamas. The problem for us is that those predictions also show the storm taking a turn to the west toward the northern islands.
Islands like Eleuthera, Abaco, Grand Bahama, on Bimini.
Simmons says with Dorian heading for open waters, the conditions are ripe for strengthening. And with $820 million in losses due to hurricanes in the past 5 years, NEMA Director Captain Stephen Russell says there is real concern for vulnerabilities in the Northern Islands. There's the risky glass window bridge in Eleuthera and low-lying areas in Abaco and East Grand Bahama. He says shanty towns are also at risk.
Central Abaco area, the Marsh Harbor area, that's a vulnerable area where you have the mud and those other migrant communities. They are susceptible to serious damage as a result of major storms that may be affecting the Abaco areas.
NEMA has been criticized in the past for its response to major storms. However, Russell insists that the agency has turned over a new leaf. A disaster preparedness drill earlier this summer tested the agency's response to a Category 4 hurricane. Russell says the exercise was successful and NEMA is ready for every possibility.
These messages and keeping your breath is to ultimately save lives. You want to minimize the persons who may be injured as a result of these storms, and we definitely want to reduce the losses and damages as a result of these storms. That's why we're saying that people should be resilient. You know a storm is coming, you have 3-4 days notice that a storm is approaching. You know what is required to secure your home, your property, your business, your assets. That's why we stress for persons to be prepared.
In the past 5 years, the Bahamas has endured 3 major storms, 4 if Dorian makes landfall.
The Guyana Civil Aviation Authority is raising its standard to meet the needs of the oil and gas sector. Its Director General, Egbert Field, says increased training for inspectors is among its priorities.
The Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, GCAA, is looking to ensure that its inspectors are internationally certified to match the demands of the oil and gas sector. Speaking on NCN's morning show, Guyana Today, Director General of the GCAA, Egbert Field, stated the work of the agency becomes even more complex as the country moves closer to first oil. This is especially critical as one of the roles of the agency is certifying or giving approval for the helicopter operations moving offshore.
They make an application to us for a foreign air operator certificate, and when that is done, the inspectors go through the documentation, etc. Also, not only documentation, but also physical or practical demonstration that the operator can do the job he says he wants to do before approval is granted to them.
Debate continues across Trinidad and Tobago since the President, Paula Mae Weeks, described a rendition of the national anthem at the Carifesta closing ceremony as unacceptable. President Weeks insists it was not sung in its original music, and singer Danielle used artistic license in her performance. The organizers and the singer have opted not to comment further on the matter. We hear more from CNC Television.
It's a rendition that has elicited strong opinion. The president's critique paving the way for debate over how the anthem should be performed. President Paula Mae Weeks said the national anthem must be sung in its original music. No introduction or coda can be added or other artistic license taken in its rendition. Yet there had been artistic license taken before. Many early radio listeners may be familiar with this version.
From the love of a liberty, in the fires of open prayer.
While even at the 2009 Summit of the Americas, another operatic version was done. Indeed, it wasn't even the first time this year that Danielle Williams sang the anthem in this manner, as she opened the Dimanche Gras show with a similar performance.